2 major winter storms, 5 days, one relentless Arctic blast that's going to rewrite the record books from Florida to Maine. If you thought this week was cold, if you thought the snow we just had was significant, I need you to understand something. What's coming in the next 120 hours is going to make everything we've experienced so far look like a warm-up act. We're talking about a 1-2 punch of winter weather that meteorologists are comparing to patterns we haven't seen since 2010. And for those of you who remember 2010, you know exactly what that means. Your weekend is canceled. Your travel plans need to change. And if you live anywhere from Atlanta to Boston, the decisions you make in the next 12 hours could determine whether you're safe and prepared or caught completely off guard. I'm going to break down both storms hour by hour, tell you exactly when each system impacts your city, and explain why the second storm next week could actually be worse than the one hitting tomorrow. But first, drop your location in the comments right now. Not your state, your actual city or town. Tomorrow's video is going to have hyperlocal forecasts for every single location mentioned, and I'm compiling that list tonight. So pause, comment your city, then come right back. Here's what's happening. Right now, at this exact moment, there are 2 distinct weather systems developing. The first one, the one everyone's focused on, is already producing light snow across the southern Appalachians. That system intensifies tomorrow and becomes what we call a bomb cyclone off the Carolina coast. But what most people don't realize is that while we're dealing with that storm, the atmospheric setup for storm number 2 is already taking shape in the northern Pacific. Let me start with tomorrow's storm because that's the immediate threat. As of right now, light snow is falling across eastern Tennessee. Knoxville, you're seeing it. Johnson City, you're in it. Asheville, North Carolina, you started seeing flurries about 2 hours ago. This is the leading edge of what's about to become a major winter weather event for the entire southeast and mid-Atlantic. The timeline is critical here. Tonight, between 10 p.m. and midnight, precipitation spreads across the Carolina Piedmont. Charlotte, your rain starts around 11 p.m. It stays rain for most of the overnight hours. But here's what changes everything. Between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, temperatures crash. We're talking about a 3 to 5 degree drop in less than an hour in some locations. That rain changes to snow, and it changes fast. Greensboro, North Carolina, your transition happens around 5:30 a.m. Winston-Salem, same time frame. High Point, Burlington, all of the Triad cities, early morning transition from rain to heavy snow. Raleigh, you're about an hour later. Your rain to snow line crosses the metro area between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m. Durham, Chapel Hill, Cary, all transitioning during the Saturday morning commute. Here's why that timing matters. A lot of people are going to go to bed Friday night seeing rain and assume it's just a rainy Saturday. They're going to wake up to 6 inches of snow and roads that are completely impassable. If you're in central North Carolina and you're watching this Friday evening, do not assume tomorrow morning is business as usual. By 8 a.m. Saturday, we're talking about snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour across a huge area. Columbia, South Carolina, your timeline is similar to Charlotte. Rain overnight, transition to snow between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. Saturday. But here's where you need to pay attention. Before that transition, you might see a period of sleet and freezing rain. We're talking about a window between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. where temperatures are right at 32 degrees and precipitation is falling. That's the perfect recipe for ice accumulation on roads, trees, and power lines. Charleston, you're in a different situation. You're coastal, you're warmer, and you're probably going to see mostly rain through the daytime Saturday. But Saturday evening, as that storm really intensifies offshore, there's a window where you could see a changeover to snow, maybe a coating to 2 inches. Not a major snow event for you. But the freezing temperatures behind the storm are a huge concern. Sunday morning lows in Charleston could drop to 23 degrees. That's hard freeze territory for a city that isn't built for it. Myrtle Beach, you're right on the line. The current models are showing you getting anywhere from 3 to 7 inches depending on how far northwest the heavy snow bands set up. This is one of those situations where 20 miles makes all the difference. If those bands set up right over you, 7 to 10 inches is possible. If they set up just offshore, you might only see 3 to 4. Wilmington, North Carolina, This is where things get really interesting. You're in the sweet spot for this storm. Current forecasts are showing 8 to 12 inches, but I think you could overperform that. The high-resolution models are showing snowfall rates Saturday afternoon that could reach 2 to 3 inches per hour as the storm rapidly intensifies just offshore. If that happens, you're looking at 12 to 15 inches, possibly more. Jacksonville, North Carolina, similar story. Camp Lejeune, New River, all of the coastal military bases, you're looking at significant snow. 8 to 12 inches looks likely. Morehead City, Atlantic Beach, Emerald Isle, all of the Crystal Coast, same numbers. This is going to be a major snow event for eastern North Carolina. Now let's talk about the Outer Banks because this is where the storm really shows its intensity. Nags Head, Kill Devil Hills, Kitty Hawk, you're not just dealing with heavy snow. You're dealing with blizzard conditions. We're talking about sustained winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour, with gusts to 70. Snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour. Visibility near zero. And here's the compound threat. Storm surge. High tide Saturday evening coincides with the peak of the storm. We could see 2 to 4 feet of storm surge in vulnerable areas of the Outer Banks. That means coastal flooding, beach erosion, and potential overwash in low-lying areas. Add heavy snow on top of that, and you've got a scenario that's extremely rare. The last time something similar happened was January 2008, and it caused significant damage. Ocracoke, Hatteras, you're even more vulnerable because you're farther out in the Atlantic. 3 to 5 feet of storm surge is possible in some locations. If you're in a flood-prone area, you need to be thinking about this now, not tomorrow morning when it's already happening. Virginia Beach, let's talk about your forecast. Right now, models are showing 6 to 10 inches for the immediate coast. But those same high-resolution models that are showing overperformance in North Carolina are showing the same thing for you. There's a scenario where those heavy banding sets up right along the coast and you see 12 to 15 inches. The winds are going to be the biggest factor. Sustained at 35 to 45 miles per hour, gusts to 65. That creates massive snow drifts and near-zero visibility. Norfolk, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Hampton, Newport News, all of Hampton Roads is looking at significant snow. 6 to 12 inches across the metro area, with higher amounts right along the waterfront where you get the enhanced moisture. And the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, that's going to be a major concern. Those wind gusts combined with heavy snow could make it impassable Saturday afternoon and evening. Richmond, Virginia, you're in a slightly different position. You're inland enough that you don't get the crazy winds, but you're still getting heavy snow. Current forecasts are showing 4 to 8 inches. The I-95 corridor through Richmond could be a parking lot Saturday afternoon. Anyone trying to travel north or south on 95 through central Virginia Saturday, I strongly recommend you don't. Roanoke, you're in the mountains, and elevation always helps with snow accumulation. 5 to 9 inches looks reasonable for the valley. But up on the peaks, up on the Blue Ridge Parkway, we could be talking about a foot or more. Lynchburg, Charlottesville, you're both in that 5 to 8 inch range. Now, here's where the storm gets interesting for areas farther north. Washington, D.C., you're right on the northern edge of the heavy snow. Current models are showing 1 to 3 inches for the district. But if this storm tracks even 30 miles farther west than currently forecast, you could see 4 to 6 inches. This is a classic DC forecast nightmare where the difference between a dusting and significant snow comes down to such a small margin. Baltimore, similar situation. 2 to 4 inches is the current forecast, but there's uncertainty. Annapolis, same thing. The Chesapeake Bay's western shore is right in that transition zone. Philadelphia, I don't think you're going to see much. Maybe a coating to an inch Saturday night. This storm is tracking too far east for you to get into the heavy snow. Wilmington, Delaware, similar. An inch or two at most. Trenton, same story. New York City, you're basically out of this one. Maybe some flurries Saturday night, but no accumulation. Long Island's South Shore might see a coating, but that's about it. The storm is too far offshore by the time it reaches your latitude. But here's where it gets interesting again. Cape Cod, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, you're actually back in the game. As this storm pulls northeast Sunday morning, it throws back heavy snow bands into southeastern Massachusetts. Hyannis, Provincetown, Woods Hole. You could see 4 to 8 inches Sunday morning. It's a completely different time frame than everyone else, but you're still getting hit. Providence, Rhode Island, similar. 3 to 6 inches possible Sunday morning. New Bedford, Fall River, the South Coast communities, same numbers. Boston, you're on the northern edge. Maybe 1 to 3 inches Sunday morning. Enough to cause some issues, but not a major event. Now, let me talk about snow totals more specifically, because there's a range of outcomes here depending on how this storm evolves. The National Weather Service is showing 5 to 10 inches across most of central and eastern North Carolina. That's their official forecast. It's conservative, it's based on ensemble data, and it's designed to give you a realistic expectation. But the high-resolution models, the NAM3K and the HRRR, are showing significantly higher totals. They're showing 12 to 18 inches for coastal North Carolina. They're showing pockets of 20 inches or more in the heaviest banding. Now, are those models right? We won't know until it's actually happening. But I will tell you this. Those high-resolution models have been outperforming the broader models this week. They nailed the timing and totals of the last system. So what do I think? I think the National Weather Service forecast is a good baseline, but I think we're going to see overperformance in the areas that get into those heavy snow bands. I think Wilmington, Jacksonville, the Outer Banks, parts of Virginia Beach, those areas could easily see 12 to 15 inches. I think Raleigh, Durham, the Triangle could push 10 to 12. I think Charlotte, the Piedmont, you're looking at 6 to 9. But here's the critical thing. This is a rapidly intensifying storm. When storms bomb out like this one is forecast to do, they often produce higher snow totals than models predict because the dynamics become so intense. We've seen it happen before. A storm that's forecast for 8 inches ends up dropping 12 because the banding is so persistent and the rates are so heavy. Atlanta, let's talk about you, because I know you're watching and you're wondering if this affects you. The answer is yes, but not as dramatically as the Carolinas. Current forecasts are showing 1 to 3 inches for the metro area Saturday morning. That's enough to cause problems in Atlanta. You don't handle an inch well, let alone 2 or 3. But the bigger concern for you is what comes after the snow. The Arctic air, Savannah, you're in a similar boat. Maybe an inch Saturday, could be just a coating, but Sunday morning lows dropping into the low 20s. That's agricultural damage territory. That's burst pipe territory. Nashville, you're still dealing with power outages from the last storm. You're still dealing with ice on the ground. And now you're about to get another shot of extreme cold this weekend. Sunday morning lows around 10 degrees, wind chills below 0, and you still have 80,000 people without power. Memphis, same situation. Extreme cold coming with no warm-up in sight. Jackson, Mississippi, you still have 87,000 people without power. This prolonged cold is becoming a serious humanitarian concern. Now, let me talk about the second storm, because this is the part that most people don't know about yet. While we're dealing with this weekend's system, there's another Arctic blast setting up for next week, and this one could bring another winter storm with it. The timing looks like Wednesday or Thursday of next week. The track is still uncertain. Could it hit the Tennessee Valley, Kentucky, Ohio Valley? Could it track farther north and hit the Great Lakes and Northeast? We don't know yet. What we do know is that the pattern is locked. The Arctic Oscillation, which is a measure of how much cold air is bottled up over the Arctic versus how much escapes south, is going deeply negative. When it's negative, cold air floods south, and it's forecast to stay negative through at least mid-February. The North Atlantic Oscillation, which controls blocking patterns over the Atlantic, is also setting up in a way that funnels cold air into the eastern United States. This is the same pattern we saw in 2010. That was the year of back-to-back winter storms, prolonged cold, and record-breaking snow totals across the east. I'm not saying this February is going to be identical to that February, but the atmospheric setup is eerily similar. The Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10-day outlook is showing below normal temperatures across the entire eastern United States. Their 8 to 14-day outlook shows the same thing. There is no warm-up coming. This cold is here to stay for at least the next 2 weeks, probably longer. Let me give you city-by-city temperature forecasts for the next few days because this is just as important as the snow. Saturday morning lows, we're talking about record-breaking cold across a huge area. Raleigh, 15 degrees. Charlotte, 16. Atlanta, 20. Charleston, 25. Savannah, 23. These are hard freezes for areas that got snow Friday night and Saturday morning, which means that snow isn't melting. It's staying on the ground, on the roads, for days. Richmond, Saturday morning low, around 12 degrees. That would tie or break records. Norfolk, 18 degrees. Washington, D.C., 16 degrees. Baltimore, 14 degrees. All of you are looking at record or near record cold Saturday morning. And it gets worse. Sunday morning, Raleigh, 12 degrees. Charlotte, 14. Atlanta, 18. These are temperatures these cities see maybe once every 5 years, and we're seeing them back-to-back days. The Midwest, you're even colder. Chicago, Saturday morning low, around 0 degrees. Sunday morning, -3. Wind chills, Saturday morning, -20. Sunday morning, -25. That's dangerous cold. That's frostbite in minutes cold. Minneapolis, Saturday morning, -8. Sunday morning, -12. Wind chills approaching -30. Indianapolis, Saturday morning, 5 degrees. Sunday morning, 3 degrees. Detroit, Saturday morning, 4 degrees. Sunday morning, 2 degrees. St. Louis, Saturday morning, 7 degrees. Kansas City, Saturday morning, 10 degrees. All of you staying well below freezing for days on end. The snow that's on the ground from previous systems isn't going anywhere. It's just getting added to with this new storm, and then potentially another storm next week. The Great Lakes are producing lake effect snow on top of everything else. Buffalo, you're getting hammered. Another 8 to 12 inches through the weekend from Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Syracuse, 6 to 10 inches in the persistent bands. Erie, Pennsylvania, 4 to 8 inches. This is separate from the coastal storm. This is purely lake effect from the extreme temperature difference between the cold air and the relatively warm lake water. Cleveland, 2 to 5 inches of lake effect depending on where the band's set up. Grand Rapids, Michigan, 6 to 10 inches off Lake Michigan. Traverse City, similar totals. Marquette, you're on Lake Superior and you could see a foot or more in the most persistent bands. South Bend, Indiana, 4 to 6 inches. Kalamazoo, 3 to 6 inches. All of this lake effect snow is happening while we're also dealing with the coastal storm to the south. It's a complete Great Lakes snow event happening simultaneously with a major East Coast winter storm. That's unusual. It speaks to how intense this Arctic outbreak is. Now, let me talk about what happens after this weekend because the story doesn't end Sunday. Monday, temperatures moderate slightly across the south. And when I say moderate, I mean instead of highs in the 20s, you get highs in the low 30s. You're still well below normal. You're still frozen, but it's not quite as extreme. Tuesday, same thing. Slight moderation, still cold. But Wednesday, here comes that second Arctic blast, and this one could bring another winter storm with it. The models are still working out the details, but the pattern is clear. Cold air diving south, moisture pulling north from the Gulf. Potential for another significant winter weather event somewhere in the eastern United States. Could it be the Tennessee Valley? Could it be the Ohio Valley? Could it be the Mid-Atlantic again? We don't know yet. But what we do know is that the ingredients are there. And when you've got back-to-back storms in a pattern like this, each one makes the next one worse because the ground is already snow-covered, temperatures are already depressed, and there's no recovery period. This is why I'm asking you to come back tomorrow for an update. Tonight's model runs are going to be critical for refining this weekend's snow forecast. Tomorrow's model runs will start to give us clarity on next week's potential storm. This is an evolving situation, and daily updates are essential during active weather patterns like this. Let me address power outages, because this is a real concern. Mississippi, you still have 87,000 people without power from last weekend's storm. Tennessee, 80,000 without power. Louisiana, 37,000 without power. These people have been in freezing temperatures without electricity for nearly a week. And now another blast of extreme cold is coming. If you're in one of these affected areas, if you have power, check on your neighbors who don't. This is becoming a safety issue. Prolonged exposure to temperatures in the teens and 20s without heat is dangerous, especially for elderly people and young children. And for everyone else, prepare for the possibility of power outages this weekend. When you combine heavy snow with high winds, tree branches come down, power lines come down, The coastal areas of North and South Carolina, the Outer Banks, Virginia Beach, you're at highest risk for power outages Saturday night into Sunday morning because that's when winds are forecast to be strongest. Make sure you have flashlights and batteries. Make sure you have a way to stay warm if you lose power. Make sure you have food that doesn't require cooking. Make sure your phone is fully charged. This is basic emergency preparedness, but it's essential. Let me give you one more round of specific forecasts for cities I haven't hit yet. Fayetteville, North Carolina. You're looking at 8 to 12 inches Saturday. Fort Bragg, same numbers. Lumberton, 7 to 10 inches. Florence, South Carolina, 5 to 9 inches. Darlington, Hartsville, the PD region, similar totals. Greenville, North Carolina. You're in eastern North Carolina where the heavy banding is forecast to set up. 10 to 14 inches is realistic, possibly more. Washington, North Carolina. Same numbers. New Bern, Havelock, the Trent River area, 8 to 12 inches. Rocky Mount, Wilson, Goldsboro, you're all in central eastern North Carolina. 6 to 10 inches across this region. Elizabeth City, you're up near the Virginia border. 6 to 9 inches looks likely. Petersburg, Virginia, you're south of Richmond. 5 to 8 inches. Emporia, 4 to 7 inches. Suffolk, 5 to 9 inches. Smithfield, Isle of Wight County, Newport News' western suburbs, all looking at significant snow Saturday. Fredericksburg, Virginia, you're halfway between Richmond and D.C. 3 to 6 inches is the current forecast, but you're in that transition zone where it could go either way. Culpeper, Warrenton, the northern Piedmont of Virginia, 2 to 5 inches. Salisbury, Maryland, you're on the eastern shore. 4 to 7 inches looks likely. Ocean City, 3 to 6 inches. Dover, Delaware, 2 to 4 inches. You're all on the northern edge of the heavy snow. Now, the bottom line for this weekend. Major winter storm Saturday across the Carolinas, Virginia, and parts of Georgia. Snowfall totals of 6 to 15 inches in the hardest hit areas, possibly higher in the heaviest banding. Blizzard conditions along the coast with winds gusting to 70 miles per hour. Record-breaking cold Saturday and Sunday morning. No warm-up in sight. Another Arctic blast and potential winter storm next week. Tomorrow's video will have updated snow totals, refined timing, street-level forecasts for communities mentioned in the comments, and hopefully better clarity on next week's system. I'll be analyzing model data late tonight and will have everything ready by 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Stay safe, stay warm, prepare for the worst, and hope for the best. I'll see you tomorrow with comprehensive updates.